One of the questions I get asked a lot as a Dokkan Battle streamer is, should I pull on this banner? What's in it for me to pull on this banner? Hopefully we can answer a couple of those questions for you today. So out of the blue, Bandai Namco has dropped the Intelligence Kid Buu Dokkan Fest. So as you can see from the art here, pretty much all the feature cards are in the art. There's not too many feature cards in this one, so this video is going to be a little bit short, but it'll be short but sweet. So let's go ahead and we'll just jump right in here. So the Intelligence Kid Buu, let's not beat around the bush. It is it's the jackpot card. This is the card that you want to pull if you're pulling on this particular banner. There's a couple of other good cards on here, but for the most part, this is definitely the card you're going to be aiming for. Intelligence Kid Buu is the Extreme Intelligence Neo God. So Extreme Intelligence type Ki +2, HP attack and defense plus 100%. When he Dokkans, it becomes 120% HP attack and defense and plus 3 Ki. It's pretty much the same for every Neo God. You just change if it's super extreme and the type. So not much to say there. Go ahead and pop up the SSR viewer here. When he Dokkans into when he Dokkans, well, he's still Kid Buu, but when he Dokkans, he gets that 120% HP attack and defense plus 3 extreme intelligence Ki, as said before. Immense damage from the super attack, and recovers 12% HP. So it's one thing you'll notice is that this card has a flat HP recovery for launching it. A lot of Buu cards have supers that recover HP depending on the amount of damage you deal. Most of these cards don't deal a ton of damage anyway, so usually you're not going to be recovering that much HP. Obviously, considering that this Kid Buu has an immense damage super attack multiplier, attack plus 100% plus attack plus 70%, which basically, I mean, let's be honest here, it's 170% no matter what. Staying 30% or above HP with a Buuhan Intelligence Kid Buu combination, not difficult unless you're really, really unlucky. It's 40% when he's not Dokkan, but 30% here. So, huge improvement. Makes this card give your team quite a bit of survivability. Even if you're not pulling this card for a mono extreme intelligence team and you just want him for a mono extreme team and you have Buuhan, extremely good. It's ridiculous just how much survivability that this card and Buuhan can give to a mono extreme team. So definitely something to consider if you have, say, Rose and like Physical Goku Black and you need a couple more cards that will help make them better. Increase your the survivability of your team. This card will definitely pull its weight. As far as the link skills go, pretty normal. Big Bad Bosses, Majin, Infinite Regeneration. These are pretty normal. Links for Buu cards. And considering that they have, considering that it shares a lot of links with Buuhan, it's definitely a good card to link with this Kid Buu. You're going to be recovering a little bit more HP. You're going to be doing a little bit more damage, especially if you're in that sweet spot range, that Goldilocks zone of between 30% and 8% HP when below, I believe it's below 80% HP is when Big Bad Bosses activates, or when it can activate, something along those lines. So, as you'll see here, this card has really good stats. Huge amount of HP, huge amount of attack, huge amount of defense. So absolutely ridiculous numbers. And if I'm not mistaken, this is just maxing the card out. Like, I don't even think that even counts for putting anything into the hidden potential system. So you are going to be doing quite a bit of damage, and Kid Buu will definitely add quite a bit of HP to pretty much any team that you're putting him onto that has any kind of synergy. So like Mono Extreme Intelligence, even just Mono Intelligence for that matter. You can throw him in there with Buuhan, and he will do quite a bit of damage, and he'll be very very useful for you. So moving on here, we got to switch back over. Here we have the second card on the banner. The second feature card on the banner is Buhan. He is the original Mono Intelligence leader. If you don't have Buhan already, which I mean most people kind of do, considering that this card has been on a ton of banners since its inception. But he's the original Mono Intelligence leader. If you don't have him, this is definitely a good card to pull. He recovers a little bit of HP with every orb that he gets. Attack plus 20% for every key obtained. So this is every key. It doesn't matter what key you're picking up. This is every key. Super Kamehameha. Immense damage to enemy. That's pretty normal for gods as well, to have immense damage modifier. When he Dokkans, he gets a chance at Super Attack 10 to launch a stronger attack. Best of all, you can actually grind this guy's... you can actually grind his super attack from his own Dokkan Fest event. So getting him to Super Attack 10, it's one of the tougher grinds in the game, but for Buhan, it's definitely worth to do it. Statistically, he's got strong stats. He's still very relevant as a god, and as I said, he links really well with the new Intelligence Kid Buu. So if you happen to have this Buhan already and you pull this guy, you are in good shape. You're definitely in good shape. Unfortunately, most of the other extreme intelligence cards are a little bit lackluster. So, I mean, like Turles. God, I can't even remember any other extreme intelligence types. Janemba is another one. Speaking of Janemba, he's in this banner somewhere as well. But moving on here, we have Super Saiyan Trunks Future Intelligence. This is a card that's been around for a little while, since Vegito Blue, if I'm not mistaken. He's basically a nuker. He has a leader skill that you might want to consider using when he Dokkans, because I believe he gets Super Type Key +1, and I think this goes up to 70% HP attack and defense. Can't really remember off the top of my head, but a lot of people use him if they lack Vegito Blue, but still want to run a mono super team. Like I said, his passive skill, he's an orb changer, changes strength to intelligence key, attack plus 12% for intelligence key sphere obtained. At Super Attack 10, this guy does a ton of damage because he has an immense damage modifier, lowers defense. I believe it greatly lowers defense when he Dokkans, but not really a whole lot changes when he Dokkans. He just hits a little bit higher, and he becomes more useful as a leader. Definitely not a bad card to pull in this particular case. If you have, say, LR Gohan, or even Buhan for that matter, this is definitely a good card to throw into a mono intelligence or a mono super intelligence team. I say he's probably even optimal in most in super intelligence and mono intelligence. Just for how much damage this guy can do. He can do quite a bit of damage. So if you find somebody, I can't really recommend anybody. I didn't really think to look and see who he links well with. But if you can find somebody to link well with him and activate most of his links, he definitely pulls his weight. He's incredibly good. But unfortunately, he's an older card, so we're not going to look too in-depth into him. So we're just going to move on to Janemba, another card that's been around for a long time. This card's been around a very, very long time. Super Janemba. Stats are okay, HP is kind of underwhelming, attack is pretty good for a card this old, defense is really good. Not really going to use him for his leader skill, but his passive is okay. Attack and defense plus 300%, 300%, I wish, man. 3,000, it's a base 3,000, so that's not a huge deal. Guard activated against all attacks, so he always takes minimally effective damage from everybody. So on paper, this makes him look like a really good. It makes him look like a really good tank. And for mono intelligence, like with LR Gohan or Intelligence Kid Buu, he's an okay tank. I mean, I don't really think intelligence has too many tanks. So if you're looking for a good tank, this is not a bad card to have. He has supreme damage modifier on his attack, which is not that big a deal. It is what it is. This is pretty normal for cards that are this old, supreme damage modifier. So, I mean, there's really not much to say. This card is so old. He's kind of tanky, but there's just so many other cards in the game now that just are much tankier than he is. The Strength GT Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, Agility Golden Frieza, Tech Golden Frieza. Hell, I'd say even Meta Rildo, the Strength Meta Rildo is a better tank than this guy is. No question. But he does pretty good damage. He lowers defense. Not a big deal. A lot of cards do that these days. A lot of cards deliver some kind of debuff. So if you don't have this guy and you happen to pull him, you might be able to throw him into Mono Extreme Intelligence. You might even be able to throw him into Mono Intelligence. It depends on what you have already. But to say the least, there's a lot of better intelligence cards out there, and that would probably be even tankier than this guy is. There is one benefit to this card, though. If you happen to pull him, and you're aiming to pull Strength Janemba when he comes out, you can feed him into Strength Janemba, who will actually be useful as far as the damage dealing goes. So, definitely one of the weaker cards on this banner for sure. So moving on to Tech Golden Frieza, we were talking about tankiness with Tech Golden Frieza and Agility Golden Frieza. This guy's a tank through and through. When the HP is 50% or above, I think it's 40% when he Dokkans. I'm not really 100% sure, but his passive skill doesn't really change too much. But to say the least, he tanks, and he tanks fairly well. He doesn't tank as well as Golden Frieza does, but in a pinch, in a Mono Tech team, Mono Extreme Tech team, he will, well, even Mono Extreme for that matter, he will definitely pull his weight. Put him in front of somebody when you think there's going to be super attack, and he'll take it like a champ. Because he has an immense damage modifier, and he actually gets an attack boost, he can do considerable amount of damage. You're probably going to wind up pulling this guy a lot. As a matter of fact, if you've been playing this game, if you're like a mid or end game player, you've probably pulled this card several times. So if you put anything into the hidden potential system, if you grind up his super attack through the Resurrection F event with other kind of Friezas, then he'll do a considerable amount of damage for a tank card. As a matter of fact, I'd venture a guess that he's definitely in the upper echelon of damage dealing tank cards for sure. So again, we're not going to go too in depth with this guy because he's been around for a long time, so we'll continue onwards. Here's another Kid Buu. You're probably not going to be too happy if you pull this guy. Very old card. Leader skill is basically completely useless. The passive skill is a little more handy. Attack and defense plus 30% for all allies when HP is 80% or above. Putting this card into like monophysical, a monophysical team if you don't have, say, the physical Super Buu, might be a good idea. When he Dokkans, I think it goes down to 70% HP requisite. But considering how tanky monophysical is, you will probably not be under 80% or above. Well, you probably won't be under 80% HP or above, which is not good because that means that the big bad boss's link doesn't activate, but not really that big a deal. Supreme damage modifier and a super attack. Very shrug worthy. I mean, if I could shrug any harder, I'd break my collarbone probably. It's really not much to say here. Very old card. Just, it was great when it came out, but now it's definitely one of those cards that's starting to show its age. I don't know why it's on this banner. I guess because they needed to throw in another Kid Buu. And to be completely honest with you, I'm surprised they didn't throw in the rest of the Kid Buus. I think there's like a tech and an agility one as well. So why they didn't throw those in there as well to piss us off, I don't know. But moving on to the last card, you'll notice that it's the featured SR card for this banner. Transforming Power, Majin Buu style Supreme Kai. I think they refer to him as Buff Buu. His leader skill is actually not too bad. Tech and Strength type key plus 2 and AHP and attack plus 30%. If you don't mind that, actually let's go ahead and open up the SSR viewer here because we have what he Dokkans into. This is what he Dokkans into. This is definitely what you want to be looking at here. Tech and Strength key plus 2. If you don't have a Tech or a Strength mono leader, this is actually not a bad card to have. HP and Attack plus 50%. Because it's lacking the defense buff that a lot of the gods and the Neo gods have, you're probably not going to be using this card as a leader for a Tech and a Strength team for endgame content. But the earlier events, and I'd say some of the events probably up to like Vegito Blue, you can probably get away with it here. Running a mono Strength team with this guy's lead. I love his card art. Like, he just seems so happy. He's like, yeah, I'm too happy. Yeah. He's so it's just funny to me. He goes from extreme damage modifier to supreme damage modifier, lowers defense. At this point, debuffs on super attacks are so par for the course that it's like not even really worth mentioning sometimes. Attack and defense plus 70%. That's just for him, unfortunately. If he gave that to all allies, I think that would have made this card much better. But 70% attack and defense is not really anything to sneeze at. Especially when he has stats that are kind of mediocre as this. It has this passive has no requisites. So it makes him hit a little bit harder. It makes him tank a little bit better. He's not going to be like Tech Golden Frieza for sure in terms of his tankiness, but it makes him much better than he used to be. Interesting enough, he also disables the enemy's guard, which I do believe that means that he does super effective damage to everybody. Similar to the intelligence hit when he Dokkans or strength Gogeta. Not a lot of cards that have this kind of ability, so that'll make him hit even harder. It's really interesting to see a card like this that on the surface it's difficult to kind of take it seriously, but then you look at it and it's like, wow, it's actually, he's really not that bad. And I'd say in terms of SRs, the Dokkan and SSRs, he's really not that bad. He's actually one of the better ones that I've seen in quite some time. You'll see that he has a lot of links to share with the intelligence Kid Buu, but unfortunately you can't use them because they're the same card, which is unfortunate. But if you don't happen to pull intelligence Kid Buu, you could probably throw this into like a mono extreme team with Buhan and bring out Buhan, bring out a little bit of extra damage for Buhan, make a little bit more HP back. So popping back into here, I really wouldn't recommend using this card into any teams. This card alone, plus 40% attack and defense. I mean, it's not nearly as good as the 70% for sure. Stats are pretty good on this card, as we said before. There's really not much to say here about this particular banner. It's very small banner. It seems almost kind of like an afterthought, to be honest with you. Like there's just something about this banner that doesn't sit right with me. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about who should be pulling on this banner. We'll start with the beginning players, the newbies. I wouldn't pull on this banner at all if I were just starting out, and I was looking for advice on whether or not I should pull. If you're starting out, don't pull. If you're starting out, yeah, this banner is still around, and it has way more newbie friendly cards on it. Plus, it's a GSSR. So if you're looking for somewhere to drop your first 50 Dragon Stones as a newbie, this is where you want to drop it. This is not where you want to drop it. Neither is this. Well, Super 17 has more newbie friendly cards on the banner than this one does for sure. But your Dragon Stones are probably better spent here, just simply because if you're a newbie, you need SSR cards. You need to stockpile SSR cards to have more flexibility. To have stronger teams, etc. So newbie players, pass on this one. Save your Dragon Stones, or at least spend them on the Warrioress of Universe 6 banner before that disappears. Probably pretty soon. I'd say maybe like a day or two, maybe a week. Probably less than that. For mid-game players, you might want to consider this to pull in this banner. There's a lot of cards on here that are really strong. The Tech Golden Frieza, if you don't have him already, he's definitely a very useful tank. to have on like a rainbow team, or even if you happen to have Rose, perhaps let's say you pulled Rose from the Super 17 banner because he's here, and it's like, well, I need extreme characters for my mono extreme team. This is a good banner to pull on. A lot of these cards have good survivability or increase your HP in some way. Or I should say recover your HP in some way. Some of them do quite a bit of damage too, like the Intelligence Trunks and Intelligence Kid Buu does quite a bit of damage as well. Not to mention, if you're a mid-game player, your jackpot card is probably going to be Buhan. Mono Intelligence is really not that bad. There's not a whole lot of really good cards for Mono Intelligence, but you can probably scrape together a pretty decent team out of you know, just having Buhan there. So endgame players, I would most definitely not recommend pulling on this banner. While Intelligence Kid Buu is a really heavy hitter, Buhan is kind of obsolete for endgame players. Like, you probably have, I mean, even if you have Elargo on or something, you're probably not going to be using this card at all. Not to mention, if you want to run a mono intelligence team, wait for Gogeta. You're just better off dropping your Dragon Stones on Gogeta. We're probably not going to have him for maybe another month or so. It really kind of depends, because Bandai Namco has clearly been messing around with the schedule, because we were definitely not supposed to have this particular banner for a little while still. Yet here we are with this banner staring us right in the face. So yeah, endgame players definitely don't pull on this banner. There's no reason for you to pull on this banner. So that, I mean, really, that's all there is to say. Hopefully, if you are going to pull, good luck. I hope you get what you're looking for. If not, we'll definitely see you in for future banners, and we'll talk a little bit more about what comes in the future. For now, take it easy.